Welcome to Baobab Safari, explorers. My name is Kingpin, and I'll be your guide today as we head into the heart of Africa. Please remain seated at all times, keeping those arms, hands, feet, and legs inside the vehicle, and be sure to watch your little explorers as well. We're about to embark on a journey through sprawling savannas, dense forest, and winding riverways, home to some of the most incredible animals on Earth. And trust me when I say it's not a place you want to get lost in. Lobby 1, clear for entry. It looks like we've just been given clearance for entry by the safari warden, so hold on tight because here we go. Our adventure today spans multiple ecosystems carefully designed to mimic natural habitats of the species on their reserve. Many of the animals you're going to see are part of various conservation programs across the world, and several are endangered or even near extinct in the wild. Simply just by visiting our facility today, you've done more than you can possibly imagine to further conservation efforts worldwide for every species on the reserve. Baobab Safari is incredibly special because no two journeys are exactly alike, and I can tell right away that this is going to be an incredibly special one, as if you look directly to your right, you're going to be met with an incredible view of the Okapi, one of the most elusive and mysterious animals on the entire reserve. Typically, the Okapi is quite wary of the safari vehicles, as in the wild they weren't even discovered until 1901. They're an incredibly difficult species to document. What we do know about them is that the Okapi is actually the giraffe's closest relative, despite looking nothing like them at a first glance. They have long, prehensile tongues that they use to grab leaves and even clean out their own ears. I'm not seeing anything quite yet up ahead, but now's a good time to mention that these habitats are absolutely massive, and technically speaking, seeing every animal in the reserve isn't exactly guaranteed. They have the ability to go absolutely anywhere, but it looks like straight ahead and coming up on the left is actually going to be our next critically endangered species, the black rhinoceros. As of now, he looks to be a bit tired, and I doubt we're going to be able to see him moving around. However, when they do choose to move, they're surprisingly agile, and able to run at speeds of up to 35 miles per hour. That's quite impressive when you remember they have to carry around that massive horn everywhere they go, which is actually made of keratin, the same material as your fingernails. Unfortunately, this massive horn is a large reason as to why the species is currently critically endangered, as it's a very highly sought-after material by poachers on the black market. I hope none of the little adventurers on board are afraid of the dark, as the upcoming foliage tends to shroud out much of the sunlight. It's a perfect habitat for a species that's garnered the name the ghost of the forest. This is because, despite being the largest as well as the heaviest forest antelope, the bongo is actually one of the most elusive species in all of Africa. Straight ahead and coming up on the left, we're going to be able to spot 3 members of the family, including 2 females and a sole male. While both the male and female have horns, the males are significantly larger. They can also be incredibly protective of their mates. There's absolutely no reason to panic. A bongo couldn't damage his vehicle if he wanted to, but if you look to the left, we'll actually notice his pregnant mate hiding in the undergrowth. He's simply being defensive. Baobab Safari was designed to be as unintrusive as possible, and the animals can cross over the tracks at any point in time. Believe me when I say, this has happened before. Thankfully, since we were calm and showed no signs of aggression or harm towards his pregnant mate, the male bongo decided to leave us alone and explore a different section of the habitat. That seems like an excellent idea, and I think we can follow suit. And as you can probably notice, it's getting a little bit brighter, and we seem to be going uphill. Typically, when the average person thinks about Africa, they think of a dry and arid environment, and this for the most part can be true. However, there are also ecosystems where water plays an absolutely vital role. This is especially true for the pink-backed pelican, and you can spot a flock if you look to the right. We'll certainly get a closer look at them later, as they're a very interesting species, and the first of 3 avian found in Baobab Reserve. If you look to your left, you'll be able to spot a pod of hippopotamus, including a juvenile taking a nap on a nearby island. There are actually 2 hippocalves in this habitat, however seeing both can be rather difficult, as they're so small compared to the adults. Looking back over to the right side of the vehicle, we'll get a much better view of the pink-backed pelicans. Their cooperative hunting style is a marvel to watch, as they herd fish into tight groups and hunt in flocks. Just like we mentioned before, water is a critical component to the hippopotamus' ecosystem, as well as the pink-backed pelican. Hippos spend most of their day submerged to stay cool, but don't let their lazy appearance fool you. They're incredibly territorial animals, and one of the most dangerous species in all of Baobab Reserve. At night, they graze on land and can walk several miles in search of food. And a fun fact, their sweat actually acts as a natural sunscreen, giving them that iconic pinkish glow. While many species like the hippopotamus use the water to sustain themselves and help stay cool in the hotter months, some species like the Nile crocodile, who you'll be able to observe if you look over to the left, actually use it to hide and hunt. The Nile crocodile can completely submerge itself in the water, leaving only its nose and eyes above the surface, meaning it can both breathe and see you while staying completely hidden. This very simple playbook makes them one of the most effective ambush hunters on the planet. Fossilized remains of Nile crocodiles have been found dating back to nearly 7 million years, so they've clearly been successful for quite a long time. As we leave the riverbanks and head into the more open country, take a look at the distinctive silhouettes dotting the landscape. These are known as acacia trees, some of the most important plants in the African savanna. Their umbrella-like shaped canopies provide shade for countless animals, and their nutritious leaves are a favorite of many herbivores on the reserve. But don't let these delicate leaves fool you. Acacias can actually protect themselves with very long thorns and often rely on insects living within their branches to help ward off hungry browsers. These trees, just like many species on the reserve, play a crucial role in shaping the entire ecosystem, creating gathering spots for grazers, browsers, and even predators who wait in the shade. And speaking of animals who love acacias, if you look straight ahead, you may just be able to spot a reticulated giraffe. Their beautifully patterned coat not only helps in camouflage, but also regulates body heat. While looking off into the distance, you may spot some smaller shapes darting between patches of shade. Straight ahead and now running to the right of the vehicle is the sable antelope, known for its sweeping horns and confident stance. Sable herds are matriarchal, led by a dominant female who guides group to watering holes and grazing areas. If you look in between the silhouettes of two of the larger acacia trees on Baobab Reserve, it looks like we can see even more of the reticulated giraffe. If you look very closely, you'll also manage to spot a springbok, the national animal of South Africa. These peculiar species can launch themselves 6 feet up in the air in a single jump. It's a display of fitness and communication. If you look down and to your left, you'll spot the African painted dog, known for their molded coats and massive ears. These dogs hunt with an incredible coordinated teamwork and have very high hunting success rate, even toppling that of the mighty lion. If you look to your right, it looks like we're going to get an excellent view of a plain zebra. Each zebra on Earth has a unique stripe pattern, much like a human fingerprint. Their stripes may help confuse predators, regulate temperature, or even repel biting flies. Zebra are actually much more closely related to the donkey instead of the horse, as to why you've probably never seen footage of somebody riding a zebra. They're incredibly stubborn animals and can be rather dangerous. Also visiting the watering hole, we'll get another excellent look at the sable antelope. Notice their horns. They're significantly larger than anything else that's present on the reserve, except for a much larger species we'll see in due time. If you look on top of the hill onto your left, we'll get an excellent view of a reticulated giraffe. This female, however, seemingly is done grazing for the day, as she sits down for a nice rest. They spend all day standing, and surely can get tired. If you'll take a quick look to your right, we'll get an even closer view of the springbok, and from this angle, you can see just how small they actually are compared to the rest of the species on the African savanna, and significantly smaller than the blue wildebeest, who we'll get to see running if you look straight ahead. The blue wildebeest is famous for their massive migrations across the Serengeti. These animals are endurance athletes of the savanna, capable of traveling hundreds and hundreds of miles in search for fresh grasses. As you can likely tell, the African savanna is the largest section of Baobab Safari by a significant margin. This goes on for acres and acres, giving the animals on site plenty of grass to graze on. Every species in the African savanna has the clear capability and capacity to walk directly across the tracks. It's not uncommon to be stopped by a herd of giraffe. It looks like they were just fed by staff on site, so they're not going to be much of a bother today. You can get a clear view of them on the right. However, the blue wildebeest directly in front of us seems to want to slow down our tour just by a little bit. However, he doesn't necessarily seem interested. He must have just found some fresh grass to graze on. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we were able to spot any of our Thompson gazelle today, one of the fastest antelopes on Earth, who can actually reach speeds of over 50 miles per hour. If they were running full speed, I'm pretty sure one of us would have spotted them. But what I do spot is a fallen tree on our left, and there's only one species on the reserve who can possibly put out that much power. Before we find them, and as we head into the next section, take a moment to notice how the entire landscape begins to shift around us. The open savanna slowly closes into a more dense woodland, and the air cools beneath a thicker canopy, and the sounds of the plains fade into the rustling chatter of the forest. These transitional zones, where one biome blends into another, are some of the most biodiverse places on Earth. Animals travel through them for food, shelter, and safety, creating a constant flow of life in between the habitats. Here at Keystone Wilds, these spaces are just as important as the habitats themselves. They allow the animals to behave naturally, choose what they want to explore, and interact with the environment on their own terms. If you listen closely, you might even hear some of the forest residents before you actually spot them. And speaking of the residents, there's one species here that brings more color to the forest than the trees themselves. Those would be our mandrills. The males have incredibly vibrant faces and rear ends, which get even brighter when they're excited. They're actually the largest species of monkey in the entire world, and live in massive social groups. You'll be able to spot 3 here at Baobab Safari. If you look straight ahead and slightly to the left, you'll notice the towering baobab tree, often called the Tree of Life. This is exactly where Baobab Safari gets its name from, as these ancient icons can store thousands of gallons of water in their massive trunks, allowing them to survive months of drought. Their bark heals quickly from damage, their flowers attract a wide range of pollinators, and their fallen fruit feeds countless of animals across the entire savanna. They truly are a keystone species. Continuing to look straight ahead, you'll notice a massive herd of African elephants, and it looks like we're going to get an incredible view of all 4 of them. These are the largest land animals on the planet, with very strong family bonds and remarkable intelligence. Elephants use their trunks for nearly everything, from drinking, to eating, to dust bathing, and even greeting other family members, as you can probably hear them doing now. Despite being the largest land animal on Earth, they actually have a very real fear of bees, which, as you can likely notice, we have simulated hives up on the borders of their habitat. This keeps our guests safe, as well as the elephants safe, since this is a species that you don't want to meet face to face. They're so incredibly powerful and strong, they have the ability to completely uproot a tree to get the nutritious leaves on top. They also frequently rub their tusks on rock, as you can likely see by the residue left behind on the mud walls to your left and right. African elephants truly are spectacular animals and can completely change an ecosystem to their will. A surprisingly little known fact about the African elephant, as well as any species of elephant for that matter, is that they're actually capable swimmers. They have a surprisingly large pool here at Keystone Wilds, although unfortunately it doesn't look like we're going to get to see any of them using it today. If you can look past the acacia tree on the left side of the vehicle, it looks like we can spot an elephant feeding off in the distance. Transitioning from the largest animal in the reserve all the way over to the smallest, the greater flamingo is an incredibly interesting species as well. When born, as you can tell by one of our juveniles, they're actually a pale white. However, they get their iconic pink hue over time due to their diet of shrimp and algae. As you can probably guess by the name greater flamingo, there are in fact lesser flamingo. However, the reason the greater flamingo are named this is that they're actually the tallest of all subspecies of flamingo on Earth. Continuing to look past the flamingo on the left side of the vehicle, it does look like we're going to get a glimpse of the elephants enjoying their pool. As mentioned before, it's completely impossible and improbable to see everything that we have on Baobab Safari on one tour, so you're more than welcome to ride again after we get back to the station. Up ahead in the grasslands is the southern white rhinoceros, and if you look to the right, you'll actually see a common ostrich with them. White rhinoceros are grazers and often found in small groups, and can enjoy a variety of different habitats, which is precisely why one of each is present on either side of the tracks. They also have rather poor eyesight, but an endless amount of curiosity, so it's not uncommon for them to get incredibly close. But as a reminder, please try to keep your hands and arms inside the vehicle at all times. Don't forget to keep an eye out for the rest of the flock of common ostrich as well. They're actually the world's largest bird. They can't fly at all, they're completely flightless, but they can sprint at over 40 miles per hour, making them the fastest animal on two legs. You can easily tell the difference between a male and female ostrich by the plumage on the rear ends. Males have a completely white back, as you can tell by Axel, the ostrich that happens to be right in front of us blocking our path. As we continue to move on, keep your close eye on the left side, as there's someone here who specializes in disappearing. The cheetah, the absolute fastest land animal on Earth, can go from 0 to 60 in just a few seconds. Built for pure speed with a lightweight frame, long tails for balance, and a semi-retractable claw for grip, cheetahs are pursuit specialists rather than ambush hunters. Their unique black tear marks can help reduce sun glare and hyper-focus in on prey during pursuits. They're the first of two felines on the reserve, and we're about to meet the second very soon. Until then, you'll be able to catch a few more glimpses on the left side of our common ostrich. They're very curious animals with incredible eyesight, and it's not too uncommon for them to get right up close to the vehicles. As we begin our descent towards the mountain pass station, and past the final baobab tree on the reserve, we'll be met with the habitat of the West African lion. These lions are the most critically endangered species on the reserve, and smaller in number than their eastern and southern cousins. Lions are unique among big cats for living in social groups called prides. These very complex social structures are usually made up of a group of related females who do most of the hunting, working together with impressive coordination. Their preferred strategy is stamina and teamwork, driving prey into ambush zones, surrounding them, or exhausting them through group pursuit. A well-coordinated group of lionesses can bring down prey many times their size. Unfortunately for us, typically lions can spend upwards of 18 hours a day sleeping, and if I had to guess, that's exactly where they are now. Hopefully we'll still be able to get a good view. Male lions usually act as the pride defender, protecting territory that may span dozens of square miles. Their very deep roars, which can be heard from over 5 miles away, serve as both a declaration of presence and warning to rival prides. Territorial disputes can be intense, with rival males challenging control of a pride in battles that shape out the next generation. You're going to have to keep your eyes peeled as they're rather difficult to spot when laying down. They're surprisingly well camouflaged. However, if you look straight ahead, you're going to catch a great view of both of our male and female lion. Conservation is absolutely critical for the West African lion, as unfortunately their numbers in the wild have declined dramatically due to habitat loss, prey shortages, as well as human conflict. Today, they occupy less than 10% of their historic range, and many of the remaining populations survive in simple isolated pockets. Unfortunately, our safari tour is rapidly coming to a close, but before you head back and enjoy the rest of Keystone Wilds, we want to thank you, not just for riding with us, but for choosing to spend your time here. Every single visit supports our mission to create immersive habitats, care for endangered species, and contribute to global conservation efforts. Your joint interest truly does help fund research, educational programs, and the protection of wildlife across the entire globe in both human care and in the wild. Places like Keystone Wilds truly do matter because they connect people to animals many may have never even seen in their lifetime. A spark of curiosity here and there can truly grow into compassion, understanding, as well as action. Whether it's supporting conservation efforts worldwide, learning about a species, or simply sharing what you've seen today with your friends, you truly do play a part in protecting the future of wildlife. Thanks again for joining us today on Baobab Safari. Please gather your belongings and remain seated until we come to a complete stop. We hope to see you back soon. As you exit to the right of the vehicle, you'll be able to purchase custom pictures taken directly on the safari we just embarked on. Every tour on Baobab Safari is 100% unique and can never be replicated, so if you want to commemorate this moment forever, feel free to make a purchase. Don't forget to like and subscribe either, and keep your eye out for the Asian expansion coming very soon. Welcome to Baobab Safari, explorers. My name is Kingpin, and I'll be your guide today as we head into the heart of Africa. Please remain seated at all times, keeping those arms, hands, feet, and legs inside the vehicle, and be sure to watch your little explorers as well.